What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Alex here. Welcome to another video. It's been a minute, but we're getting back at it. We're chugging along the way we can. Got a fun little topic, I think. First, cheers. Fancy glass. I know, I'm serious. Topic today. I was thinking something a little bit different than maybe just your regular vinyl finds and all that kind of stuff, which is great. I love doing that, and I'll be doing that here soon. But for this, I was trying to think of something a little bit creative of 5 underrated, underappreciated classic live records. Obviously talking about live records is nothing new. And there's a ton of people on YouTube that could talk about this at significantly higher quality than I can. But, I was kind of thinking, gosh, when we talk about live records, it feels like we talk about the same ones all the time. And they're great for a reason, right? Like, I could listen to, Fillmore East from the Allman Brothers till the end of time. But, to me, when I'm listening to music and appreciating music, I always like kind of digging a little bit deeper into some of those artists or bands that we don't talk about as much, and they have some incredible live albums. So I think the theme here is twofold. Is A, most of these bands are, not like underground. They're not mystery bands, so they're just not talked about a lot. And so A, it's to talk about those a little bit. B, 90% of these, 4 out of these 5 are insanely easy and cheap to grab. I'm talking like double live albums that are somewhere between $5 and $10, or you're getting fleeced, right? Like, one's a little bit more expensive, and I'll talk about that, but $5 to $10. And what's great about that is if you aren't sure about this artist's discography, to me, the double live album of them is the way to go to really dive in instead of being overwhelmed by the discography and all the studio albums and all those different things that they have to offer. So I guess that's the 3 main themes, right? Bringing some attention and talking about some of these bands that don't get enough attention, recommending this as maybe a starting point to their discography if you're interested in them, and 3, it being easy to do that because they're pretty damn inexpensive and really accessible. So I'm going to start with a band that has been around forever. They started in, almost the early 60s, but they really came known a little bit more to prominence with a couple of hits as a progressive rock act, and a Dutch one at that. But I am talking about Golden Earring, and to me, live, Golden Earring is a banging live record. What I appreciate about this, and it's the same with some of these other ones I might show, is I can understand both the opportunity and the challenge with live records of, the tendency to jam, the tendency to extend songs. I love that, and I also understand people who don't love that, and they just want to hear how the song was done on the record. This, along with a couple of these, is a cool kind of combination of both. There's a couple of extended things, but there's no 45-minute jams. It's not jam bandy or anything like that. But they're a hard rock, progressive rock band, and this was when they're in their prime. I think this was right around Radar Love Time. But there is so much good stuff on here. Specifically coming to mind, I think it's Vanilla Queen, is that it? Vanilla Queen is outstanding. They do an incredible cover of the Byrds' 8 Miles High. And this is awesome. I actually picked this up about a week ago, and it was $6. Clean, great shape, $6. Golden Earring has a huge discography, and they were the Golden Earrings, and then the Golden Earring, and all these different things. I would recommend this as a place to start if you are considering getting into Golden Earring. Again, it's got it all. 1977, right at kind of the peak of where they're at before things started going off a little bit. But I can't recommend this one enough. Golden Earring live. Next is a band that is a huge band, but they don't get talked about a lot. I love this band, and I wish people would talk about it a little bit more. But this kind of comes on the tail end of, you could argue, 4 perfect records in their discography, and really sort of, I think with their radio hits fell into that AOR type of genre, but to me, they've always just been an incredible melodic progressive rock band. And I'm talking about Super Tramp, and I'm talking about Paris, their live record from 1980. This was on their Breakfast in America tour in Paris. But again, this is like a greatest hits up to that point. The set list is out of control. I mean, obviously you're going to get your big hits, Breakfast in America, Take the Long Way Home. Actually, I do believe that Give a Little Bit was originally part of the concert, but it wasn't actually on the record. Bloody Well Right from Crime of the Century, which is just great. But for me, the sort of progressive rock fan, this album just ends perfectly, which is the last 3 tracks, Fool's Overture, which is just one of the best compositions that they've ever done, Two of Us, and then closes it with Crime of the Century, which might be my favorite song from them. So again, super easy, accessible. I believe I got this out of a dollar bin. It was a little bit water damaged here at the bottom and on the inside a little bit, but not a expensive record at all. And again, sort of like a greatest hits, and they are an incredible live band. So I can't recommend this one enough. Next, I've talked about this band and this album a couple times, so I'm apologizing for those repeat watchers out there, but you should know by now. I just am continuously stunned how this band is not talked about. But again, I understand these things can be overwhelming. We don't know where to start. And so for me, I'm like, if you just see this out in the wild, just get it. I'm talking Coliseum live. Bluesy, jazzy, proggy, hard rock. Again, extended songs, but not too jammy. It's not like what the Zeppelin live record where they're doing like 42-minute versions of Dazed and Confused. Song remains the same. This is just awesome hard rock, a little jazzy, a little fusiony, but definitely more progressive, but big, deep bluesy vocals going on here, some extended songs. And this kicks ass. I mean, that's the only way I can put it, is like I put this on a Friday night and it just kicks ass. And I think just Coliseum had a couple of different eras. Their earlier stuff is a little bit more bluesy, progressive. Their later stuff is a little bit more jazz fusion, but this sort of is falling right in the middle of that kind of crossover. An insane killer lineup here, amazing playing by everybody, just absurd. So again, probably a $10, $12 record. If you can find it, grab it. It's amazing. Here's a band that does not get talked about at all. Many of you might not have heard of them, but I think some of you might have heard of their actual kind of leader, because he became sort of known as this amazing guitarist, and rightfully so. But people don't really talk about the band as much. Unpopular, not really successful in terms of popularity, but critically very, very successful for whatever that's worth. And I'm talking about Bbop Deluxe and the leader, Bill Nelson. So Bbop Deluxe, sort of, I think what hurt them was just they were too late to the progressive game and too early to the art rock game. They kind of just fell in this sort of mid-70s era where, I mean, they were doing so much cool stuff that would later become super well-known in like the new wave era, and especially art rock and all that stuff that would come later. But at the time, I just think that they went over people's heads, and especially because Bill Nelson is an absolute freak on the guitar, an absolute freak. I mean, this guy should be up there listed amongst the all-time greats. He's just that good. But I would recommend for them, they only released like 5 or 6 studio albums, and they're all really cheap, but I would recommend for them getting their live record, Live in the Air Age. This originally came out as kind of a double, or it like was advertised as an LP and EP, whatever it was, on white vinyl back in '77. But this is sort of their live record before things started going downhill a little bit for them. This particular copy was a Record Store Day release from a couple years ago with the extended third. So this is actually the full concert triple of their show at the Hammersmith Odeon 1977. But if you want to hear this band at their best and Bill Nelson at his best, this is insane stuff. Again, it's this cool combination of some proggy elements, but definitely a little bit more artsy prog. Think of like, I don't know, think of like Roxy Music-y type stuff, but just with ripping, shredding, super technical guitar work. He's just insane on this record. And again, the original of this it's a $5 record. I mean, buy it, fall in love with it, figure out the songs, and you can go back on the rest of the catalog. But this is an incredible live record. I can't recommend enough. Last one. This is the only one that's a little bit harder to find and a little bit more expensive. I mean, this typically is like a $20, $25 record. and also probably the biggest band of these ones that I've talked about. But oddly enough, this does not get brought up enough or at all when people are talking about kind of classic live albums. And I'm talking about Alchemy from Dire Straits. This was Love Over Gold tour, 1984, so right before, Brothers in Arms, right before the synthesizer sort of took over. And so at their peak, Love Over Gold's my favorite Dire Straits record, but I find very little negatives within any of those first 4 records, and they are fully highlighted on here. Similar to some of these other ones, and what I love about this, Mark Knopfler is a freak. I mean, the guy is an absolute freak on the guitar, and hearing him play that stuff live while singing, I mean, he's doing, just like his solos aside, and obviously he has a very unconventional way of kind of, chicken picking with it, but hearing these like melodic lead, he's playing fills on the guitar while mid-chorus, while mid-verse, the ability to do that, that and their other sort of secret weapon on here, I think Alan Clark is his name, is their keyboardist, is just amazing. So Alchemy, Dire Straits, perfect set list. You obviously have Once Upon a Time in the West kicks it off, which is perfect. They do a great rendition of Romeo and Juliet. Side 2 closes out with an awesome extended version of Sultans of Swing, but not too extended. We're not talking like 16-minute jams. We're just talking a little bit of some extended solos. Side 3's got Tunnel of Love off of Making Movies, which is one of my favorites. And then side 4 kicks off with my favorite Dire Straits track of all time, Love Over Gold. Off Love Over Gold, Telegraph Road, which is just an amazing epic, again, slightly extended, but not getting too crazy with the jams of it. So, love this record a lot. I don't know if I would call it underrated. I guess I would, because people just don't talk about it enough, but I cannot recommend this enough if you can find it. Again, a little bit more pricey than some of these other ones. But yeah, would definitely recommend it. Cool, that's it. Just over 12 minutes. Appreciate y'all sticking around. Let me know if you have these records, want these records, other super underrated, underappreciated classic albums that come to mind for you all. And yeah, appreciate you watching, and stay tuned for more. Cheers, y'all.